This Hangout on Air is live. I'm here with my good friend, Justin Jackson.
Hey, how's it going? Good to be here, Rob.
Yeah, man, I'm really pleased to have you. For anybody who doesn't know, Justin is a veteran of the entrepreneurship and consulting and product business.
Yeah,
Hold
that's
on,
good.
let me mute my thing. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I heard myself talking over myself. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's a good intro.
Yeah.
That's a good intro of me. I just went independent with product stuff in the past 14 months. And then before that, I was doing mostly like product management consulting for startups. And then before that, I was at a startup and I worked my way from customer support all the way to product manager there.
Awesome. So, dude, I've been following you for a while. We met at MicroConf, what, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, in real life.
In real life, human, physical talking. And
yeah.
Dude, you were like, my entire time at MicroConf, I think you were the only like real conversation I had with somebody there.
Oh.
So I don't know if do you even remember that?
Yeah, I do. We were at the nightclub, and is it your fiance or?
She's my wife now.
Your wife now, yeah. She was there, and yeah, we just had a really nice chat. It felt significant because it was quiet enough that we could talk about some real life stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool. If anybody is awkward on camera and stuff like me, you guys should definitely be taking notes of Justin. He's like one of the best presenters and talkers, and like he's got awesome podcasts. And that's one thing I really try to emulate from you.
Well, I have to say your Snapchat game is like way better than mine. Here's the one thing that you have and that everyone else here probably has way more than I do, and that is good taste. So I'm okay. I'm pretty good at talking, but when it comes to good taste, like choosing music to put on my videos or anything like that, everyone's always like, man, your taste just sucks. But I am pretty good at talking. That's true.
Cool, man. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what we'll be talking about today. It's mostly freelancers going to be on the call with us. And in particular, we're going to be talking about marketing your website. And I'm really excited to have you on the call for this because you have a site called Tiny Marketing Wins.
Yeah.
And if you go to tinymarketingwins.com, you can check it out. But you basically send out one small actionable tip every week to a list of subscribers, right?
Yeah.
So how did you kind of come up with that idea?
So when I started a podcast called Product People, and I started getting questions from listeners. And the number one question was always, I built a product or I have a business. How do I get more customers? How do I make more sales? All that kind of stuff. And I started to do a bunch of little things that kind of led to Tiny Marketing Wins. So I had a little ebook called Amplification. And then I built a bigger course called Marketing for Developers. And then I tried this experiment, just this little experiment where I had, it was just like an automated email thing it was free initially, where I would send people like a daily marketing tip. And I think something like 4,000 people joined that or something. And so I was like, man, there's something here, but I realized I couldn't keep doing it for free. And so I thought, I wonder if I could just launch this as a paid product. And I just launched that a month ago, and it's already been the best thing I've ever launched in terms of, like launch revenue or whatever. And it has the ability, I think, we'll see, who knows, but it has the ability to be kind of a significant source of revenue for me. And it's really, I built it like software. So it's like you log into a dashboard and then you can click through on these tactics, and there's like all the tools kind of right there, and downloads and source code and all this other stuff. So
Cool.
yeah, it's been going really well. But it all
Awesome.
like a theme with me it always starts simple, right? It always starts really basic. And here, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tease. I'm releasing a new landing page teardown today. It's called, the site I do this on is landingpageteardown.com. And this is the site that I reviewed today. It's a coffee shop in Denver called Bardo Coffee. And this is what their website looks like. And I think this is perfect. It's so simple, but it has everything you need. It's got their hours. It's got their location. That's all you need, right? And yeah, so I'm really big on this idea of simplicity and starting small and kind of building up from there.
Yeah, that's something I definitely pick up from kind of your marketing all around, is like you're more focused on like what actually gets the results versus what you're supposed to do, or like you basically take like the smallest action to get the biggest amplification of that action, right?
Mm. Yeah. And I was just on a call just explaining this to folks, and this is really good for freelancers, is some business models, some markets, some product ideas, some service ideas, if you've ever built websites, some of those things are just simpler and more profitable than others. And it's like we're always shooting ourselves in the foot with like, I don't know why we do this, but we always choose the most complicated, hard, difficult way to make money when there's easier ways to do all of this. Like we choose, like bad clients, like clients with no money, when you could go to a client who has tons of money and maybe just build one thing for them instead of building 100 things for these, can I swear on here? Shitty clients. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's something about that, about just choosing, like evaluating all your options and going, okay. And I've done it all. Like I've built like really complicated web apps, but at the end of the day, what seems to do the best is, here's a market that's already in motion that really needs something. What's something I could give them right now? And then you give it to them,
Yeah.
Can I share one more story? Because this just happened last week.
Yeah, of course.
Last night, I was talking to a boat salesman, and he used to sell ski boats, like $70,000 boats. So, I mean, already I can't identify with this. I don't have $70,000 to buy a boat with. I have 4 kids. All my boat money just went into my offspring. But $70,000 boat. So to me, that's a lot of money. But he says, you know what? That market is so difficult. Every person that comes in your showroom is like, I could just go down the street and get a quote from them, or, they're always humming and hawing. Well, he just started importing these $600,000 boats from the Netherlands, I think. They're like classy. You would love these boats, Rob. You should get one of these. You've got no kids. You can afford one. These are just like these classy, like just super crisp, just like kind of romantic cruising motorboats. 600 grand is where they start. And instead of dealing with these customers here that are like rednecks who, just want to have big, gaudy speaker systems and, stuff hanging off their boats, he's gone after this customer that, they might have a $5 million house, and to them, a $600,000 boat is nothing. He says he doesn't even put the price on the boat. And he was just at a boat show, and he sold 2. Just like that. So wow. He could deal with all of the riffraff and fight hard and be competitive, or he's the only guy with these boats in all of North America, and he's just going to keep selling these $600,000 boats. It's just like, yeah. I just love that story. It just seems like, man, like if we could do that in business all the time, that'd be, it makes life easier.
for a freelancer, probably the easy comparison to make is like competing on Odesk or on Elance. Are those sites even around anymore? It's
Oh yeah, Odesk.
Odesk.
Odesk is still around for sure.
Yeah, versus competing on your own terms of chasing a different type of client that's a lot higher. And you know, the thing that's I've been talking about with friends of mine who have been hiring freelancers too is like they almost wish the freelancer would give them a higher price. And that sounds weird, right? Like, why would a client want a higher price? And it ends up being because of the lower price that they quote, they're not able to dedicate like whole blocks of their schedule. So they just end up going dark at a certain point, and like the freelancer feels kind of embarrassed or like not wanting to disappoint the client. So they just don't put them in the loop of like, oh, your project took longer and I don't have the budget for it. So they just kind of go dark.
Yeah.
And they think they'll come back around to it, but they end up not. So it's like the clients are almost starting to feel the pain on their own, like just because of the lower price as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and totally.
Humans obviously always undercut themselves in terms of like scope. They don't give themselves enough time to complete things. So that cushion of like going after the higher quality client, I think definitely makes sense with that. It gives you some room to work.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And,
all right.
Yeah, we should get going because we don't want to. Yeah.
So the rest of the talk is going to be 2 sections. We're going to do a live website teardown, and it's an architecture firm, or it's actually an architect who creates content, has some courses, but also has some consulting on the side that he does. He creates courses for other architects who are learning the trade. And so what we're going to be trying to do is like talk about these tiny marketing wins that we've been talking about, and kind of show you how to implement it on a real site and kind of the thought process behind it. And then after that, we're going to do a Q&A session. So if you guys have questions in the chat, you can drop them in there. And yeah, I have like 5 or 6 questions also that I got from the list, from my email list, and we'll be jumping into those. So without further ado, I think we should maybe jump into that website for the architect. His name is Michael Kilkelly.
Okay,
and it's
cool.
It's arcsmarter.com. If
Cool.
anybody wants to open it up on their computer.
So the first thing I'll say is that any sort of landing page teardown, like I'm going to literally look at this for the first time. This is going to be my qualitative first glance at it. So a lot of it is going to be just my intuition and my kind of initial whatever.
Yeah.
What I don't have is the quantitative data that they might have. So they might have done some A/B testing. They might, they obviously know the customer better than I do. All I'm doing is based on looking at hundreds of other websites. I'm saying, based on that experience, I'm going to give you my qualitative opinion. But don't take anything I'm saying as gospel. These are just initial reactions and ideas, right? So in some ways, a teardown is easy to do because it's just my initial kind of feedback, right? But
Yeah,
here we
totally.
go. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you folks can see it. Here's an incognito window. I've got archsmarter.com loaded up, and here we go. All right. So, okay, here we go. So already I loaded it up, and we had a timed pop-up come up. And so, you know, I barely had time for a sip of coffee, you know, like I clicked enter, and I've literally, you guys can't see me, but I was just about to sip a coffee before I could read any of the copy. I turned back to the page, and now I've got want to work smarter. Now this headline, you know, if I put this into Google, how many more times am I going to say, am I going to see want to work smarter? It's just like one of those generic catchphrases. It's so generic, Google has, they've scraped it, you know, like you just see it all the time. It's not a great headline. Now, the second one gives me a little bit more information. sign up for Arch Smarter. I'm guessing that's this thing here, and get free Revit macros, Excel templates, and more. And then we've got this picture of like handyman stuff. And then the call to action is I want to work smarter. Now, the most helpful keyword on this pop-up is Revit. The only reason it's helpful is because my wife works in an architecture firm, and so I have this brief idea or knowledge that that's some sort of software that they use in the architecture industry. Oh, let's see, Revit. So it's some sort of Autodesk software. If I loaded this up, design without compromise. Okay, I can see this is about architecture, but that's the only kind of helpful qualifying keyword on this pop-up. Right. And let's see if I can open up some editing without messing this up. So, want to work smarter. What could we change this to? You know, like maybe even a slightly better one would be want to be a better architect, right? That at least tells me who this is for, right? Better is still kind of weak, right? Like, what's the main pain? What's the obstacle? What's the dream of a better life? You know, when people, like if I put into, this is going to be, and this might be not safe for work, so just get yourselves ready here. But if I, okay, I got to log, oh shit, I got to log in. How do I search Pinterest without having to log in? God damn it. I'll go to Tumblr. That'll be easier. And the reason I choose Tumblr and Pinterest is because it's like architect. I'm just going to search architect. Okay. The reason I choose this is people post really romantic, kind of aspirational things on these networks. And so if we scrolled through this, like here's one. They've got Ferraris in front of this building here, you know? I mean, not Ferraris, those are Ferraris. But what kind of sense do we get from these pictures, you know? What kind of emotion do people feel connected to architecture? And, you know, I'm seeing a lot of class, luxury. You know, here's, why did this person post this guy? Like, who is this guy? Le Corbusier. Like, who is this guy, right? Why is he kind of worthy of being posted on there, right? Mm-hmm. And we might be able to get a sense of what aspirations people have for here. Like maybe it's like, want to be like Le Corbusier, right? He's known as Le Corbusier, architect, designer. Like, these are the things we want to know, right? These are the feelings we want to communicate. So I think we could definitely improve the headline. And this here is interesting. You're telling me what you're going to give me, but you're not telling me how does it help me overcome the obstacles in my life, and how does it and how does it help me achieve my dream, right?
Yeah, a lot of good stuff so far in what you're saying. So I just want to pause real quick. An interesting part to me here is that you use the word feel, like what you want your visitor to feel, or the feelings that you want to convey. Why is feeling important, and why not just give the facts?
Yeah, because marketing is all emotional. Even when we think we're hiring something for its utility, we're actually hiring that thing so that we can feel something different. Let me give you an example. This stupid mouse right here, the Magic Mouse or whatever it is. By the way, I lost the bottom plate. I haven't had the bottom plate in like a year. But why did I buy this? Is it because of the functionality? Well, that's part of it. But at the time when I ordered this, I was in an office full of other Mac users. And part of me buying this was wanting to fit in. So I want to feel like I fit in, like I'm part of this group that uses cool Mac hardware. And now we're seeing the opposite, right? Like now Mac is starting to be not as cool. I'm starting to see a lot more Surface, Microsoft Surfaces in coffee shops and stuff. It's like having a Mac isn't cool anymore. And we have strong emotional attachments to the things we buy, even when we're hiring them for utilitarian reasons. And emotion is always the hook. It's always like, if you're fishing, like it's what hooks people and gets them to want to do the next thing. You have to hit them emotionally first. Yeah.
And so as a freelancer, as a business owner who's selling B2B, you hear that and you're like, well, maybe that applies to some things like a cool Mac mouse, but my business is like so dry or whatever. I make websites, like, or I increase somebody's marketing or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here's an example. And this is, I don't even know if this is true, but this is it paints the picture well. I want you designers, freelancers, whatever, to go to a Rotary meeting or a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and people will give you their business card and just say, oh, I'd like to check out your website, and check out the website on your phone and see how they talk about it. They're either going to be embarrassed. They might give you an excuse like, oh, sorry, it really looks terrible. Or they might say, oh, I just got this done. I'm so proud of it. Like, I did a lot of work on this. They're going to have some sort of emotional language in exchange there. And that's what you want to capture. Like when they share their website with their spouse for the first time, or their peer group for the first time, or at a chamber event for the first time, how do they feel about it emotionally? And here's another example. My friend Keenan is an unbelievable illustrator. He's the guy that designed the Mega Maker logo. It's the logo for my podcast. He just kicks ass. He's like so amazing. When I got that logo done, I bragged about it everywhere because it felt like it elevated me. Remember when I said at the beginning, like, I've got no taste? So here's this like jackass me who's got no taste, but all of a sudden I have this kick-ass logo, and I put it on everything. I put it on t-shirts, I put it on stickers. Like, why am I doing that? Well, because I'm proud, right? It's making me feel a certain way. And I think too often we think like people care about like what typefaces you chose and all that other shit.
Yeah.
They don't care. What they care about is how it makes them feel. And so if your work makes people feel like a pro, if your work, here's the other one that everyone always misses, is that if you're doing work for somebody in a team, they're presenting your work in a meeting. How does it make them look? When they're done presenting the new website that they've just spent $50,000 on, does the boss go, well, Janet, this was amazing. Well done, you know, and everyone claps? That's the emotional feeling that people want. That's what they want. That's why they're hiring you. They're hiring you to look good in front of the boss.
I love it. Yeah. And I'm glad we're spending a big bulk of the beginning here on this in particular, because there's nothing else that's going to have the results as making that initial and focusing in on that initial emotional connection. Like somebody in the chat had already said before we even got on here, they said, can you give us some like actual like things we can use like immediately? Or, you know, like there's a lot of talk of like, I don't know, he said something like long-term strategy. But like, what's something we can do like immediately and a quick win? And I think A, working on your headline like we're talking about, and B, making it the emotional connection and making it focused on connecting with somebody emotionally is like one of the most important and effective ways to have a quick change in like in how effective your site is communicating right now. Because if you don't get that right, then like nothing else is going to have much of an effect.
Yes. Yeah. So with that
Cool.
said, look at this. I just quickly edited this while we were chatting here. So this is a possible new headline for this pop-up. Be the next Le Corbusier. Already, like, I'm surprised somebody, Lombard.
I'm not seeing your screen on the, oh, wait. No, there
Did it
we
just
go.
pop up? Okay.
Yep.
So be the next Le Corbusier. There is Le Corbusier right there. The Lombard project in the chat said he recognized it. He says Le Corbusier is one of the mofos of the 20th century architecture. So if people know who this is, if this is who they want to be, then paint that picture. This is the dream of a better life, right? What's the obstacle between you and Le Corbusier? Well, Christ, like everything, right? How am I going to get there? How does Arch Smarter help in this case? Well, I'm going to give you a free Revit macro, Excel templates, and more.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, you can position it like the first step towards being this,
that's right,
iconic. Yeah.
Yeah. You could even say, take your first step, sign up for Arch Smarter updates, right?
Yep.
So I think this is kind of a clear illustration of what I'm talking about, especially if you want someone's email address. Like if I'm going to give you my email address, I want to know, first of all, that you understand who I am. And I want you to be like really showing me that a path to this future, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing we could see, and this is just my qualitative opinion, but this pop-up looks nothing like the actual Arch Smarter website. Yeah, I'd also say, if we go back a bunch of steps, now that initial picture there did not, to me, convey like classy architecture. It felt like it was for a cleaning company or something. So I think the visuals don't quite match up with what they're trying to communicate.
Right.
Now, if this ugly pop-up is converting better than making it look classy, then keep it. But that would be something I would test, is make it look like the rest of the website or make it look classy. And to the Lombard's point in the chat, it did come up too early. I just landed here. I haven't even sipped on coffee, and you're already showing me this. All right, so I'm going to exit out of this. So now, let's say that I've either, I've made it through that pop-up. What am I? Who is this website for? And what do they do? That's always the first question, and you got to answer that in the first 5 seconds. Design better, faster. So is this for designers? I don't know. Is it Arch Smarter helps architects and designers work smarter, not harder. Work smarter, not harder is it's so cliche that you're gonna lose people here.
It reminds me of design agencies and designers and freelance, like website designers, developers. They have the exact same words, and it's a completely different industry.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly. And what people forget is that marketing is a game of standing out. And so if your copy looks like just everybody else's, you're going to lose people, right? So, and they're missing their best opportunity here with this headline. Training. So what are they offering? They're offering time-saving tools and targeted training that increases effectiveness and maximizes efficiency. It's just, and this isn't a slight on them or whoever wrote this copy. Like, I write this copy, my first draft, because it's like what we've heard over and over again. But you need to go past this. You need to iterate past the kind of blah corporate speak that we're used to hearing.
Yeah, and let me give you a quick little bit of background on this, because I've talked to the designer of the site and everything.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who's like very passionate about helping architects, and the reason is he came out of college and he worked for 15 years at an architecture firm, and he was pulling all-nighters. Like for those 15 years, he was working weekends. He was just really burning like the midnight oil or whatever. And he said that it was something he picked up in school. It's just like a stereotype, or like reinforced through school, that like architects just have to put in the work. They have to put in the work, and the only way to do good work is to kill yourself. And then he got up to 15, 20 years of experience, and he realized, like, I'm about to have kids, or I want to spend more time with my family. I can't work this much anymore, and I don't want to. And so when he was telling me all of this, it was like, there's so much emotion in that, and so powerful. And when I get to this website, it just seems like blank, like lost, like all of that emotion and power is like completely removed. And it almost seems like people do this on purpose, right? And so, okay, one little last thing, I want to give you a goal for the site that he told me he wanted. So maybe we can steer like the feedback to this goal. He wants to put a bigger emphasis on the courses and products that he sells, instead of just putting all the emphasis on his content and the website feeling like a blog. He said his website feels like a blog instead of like an offer or like a package of different products and services.
Cool. Okay, so that's some good information. It's so funny, like, as soon as you start talking to the people behind it, like, why did you get into this? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And, sometimes starting your headline with a quote, and this is actually a trick, I've seen you do a lot, Rob, is start with a quote as your main headline. Like, that's the pain. When I started as an architect, I almost burned out. That's what's going to resonate. If I land on this page and I'm looking for just Revit downloads, I could find that probably everywhere. Like, if I just look Revit downloads, what shows up? Revit downloads. There's 479,000 results. There's something called Rev City. There's Autodesk is in this game. Like, that's hard. But if I land on this and I'm burning the midnight oil and I'm like putting in all these hours and I'm frustrated, this is going to resonate with me. Now I know I'm in the right place. So, stop working all those hours. Stop killing yourself just to get your drawings out on time. This is so funny because my wife is actually working in an architecture office. So, when she comes home, these are the things she talks about, like clients coming in and needing things right away. Stop, maybe even like, stop, what's the word I'm looking for? Stop acquiescing. That's the word I want, but stop acquiescing to customer demands. I know I've got a spelling mistake there. It's okay. This is live. And if I landed on this page, am I going to click show me how? Maybe there might be a better chance now because you've identified my pain, and then you're really digging into the pain. You've also identified who I am. You haven't painted any of the picture yet, like the picture of a better life, but maybe that's what this does, right? And if we go into this, where does this go?
Looks like a mailing list sign up.
Okay, so like a mailing list sign up. So, and again, if you're going to have, I don't know if you need this pop-up again. Again, if that pop-up's working, then keep it. But to me, it just felt like I just loaded this page and I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet.
Yeah.
And so if this is your main call to action, I'm clicking on this, like, I land on this page. I'm like this haggard, architect, I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, yes, stop working those hours. Stop killing yourself. Yeah. Stop bending over backwards to customer demands. Okay. What's next? And then I land here. This is pretty good. You got some social proof here, but sign up for Arch Smarter updates. And again, this is the same copy I write too. Like I might even have this on some of my landing pages. It's easier for me to kind of be critical here, but I think we can improve that quite a bit. And what you want to do is paint the picture here of a better life, right? So, get more free time, less stop working evenings and weekends. So here's the picture of a better life. And and maybe in this first paragraph, you just kind of get into like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like, what am I going to do? We've got some check marks here. And so maybe, you know, that's going to be enough. But maybe you just need to say like, tell a little bit more of your story here. Like, I was working 80 hours a week before I discovered system that saved my life. So does this make me want to keep reading this? And does this make me want to keep reading this? Everything has to keep the intrigue going from the headline to the first sentence to everything else, all the way down to the main call to action. It all has to make me more intrigued. It has to make me want to go to the next step. And for the first time ever, I'm sharing this process with you. And here he's saying what it is, and sometimes that's important, like here's what's going on. But maybe a better use of this space, at least initially, would be to talk about what they'll get out of it. So by the end of this 5-day program, you'll be working 40 hours a week, spending more time with your kids and spouse, earning more money from better clients, right? So we're really getting into the dream here. We're really painting a picture. And then you say, you know, all you have to do is join here. And then you can talk about it. Now, if you want, sometimes it's best to put like features at the bottom, like, okay, here's what you'll actually get. Here's what you'll actually get. But I think for a lot of people, this would be enough if they're just skimming. What do you think, Rob?
I think you are spot on. So before you give the features, you're kind of wrapping it inside of this emotional and more persuasive package. And so once you finally give the features and give like the Revit, like the Revit template is meaningless unless it has that thing at the beginning of like, this is going to save you time so that you can spend it with your family. And, you know, the stuff that you actually want is the result, not the feature. So
yeah, exactly. And even think about like, think about how people talk in real life. Like, do people go to cocktail parties and go, oh God, you got to see this Revit template I just got. It's so amazing. I just love it. No one talks like that. Like nobody is like infatuated with the Revit template they just downloaded. But when they go to cocktail parties, they go, you know, me and my spouse just went to Hawaii for the weekend and it was amazing. Like those are the conversations people have.
Yep.
And that's the result they want. They don't care about a new like file in their downloads folder. Like big deal. That's not exciting. What's exciting is the result you get from it. And that's what you're always trying to do, is paint those pictures of what's the result you're going to get from it. How are you going to feel, client, when I, the freelancer, deliver this new website and people come into your office and go, man, you've got the best website I've ever seen. Like, who designed that for you? That's the result. That's what people want. Or they want the result of this increased sales, so now I can take that trip to Hawaii.
Totally. And I think people are already you're already talking like this. Like, if you record your conversation with a new client and you listen back to it, and then you compare the words you use in that call to the words on your website, you're going to see like your website is just completely sterile. Like, I know, because I just talked to the person who makes Arc Smarter, and he did not even say the word Revit on our call. Yeah. He talked about how he's helping people and like the reasons behind that. So that might be a hack for you if you are finding yourself kind of using these like sterile words on your website. Listen to yourself actually talk about what you do with clients.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So we're at about 43 minutes now. Should we jump into Q&As, or do you want to circle back on anything on the site?
Let's just do one quick pass, and then yeah, if people have questions, they can put them in the chat, and then I know you've got some too. Just back here again, I just want to reiterate that everything needs to lead, one thing needs to lead to another. So the headline should make me want to read, the subheadline should make me want to click on the first call to action. If this page is all about getting people on the email list, this button should be repeated over and over and over again. And so if he wants this to feel less like a blog, I would dig more into the pain, more into the dream of a better life, more into how am I, Arch Smarter, going to help you get over those obstacles and achieve this better life. And then if this is just one person, I would put your face on this in the bottom and explain who you are. Why am I trusting you with my email address? If you can't do that, you've got to have some sort of other social proof. Like on the other page, you had 9,000 people have joined. I would add that. But I would be putting like this button, I would be putting that like everywhere, like halfway down the page, like new button. Underneath this section, and these sections are not like, I'm talking about changing these to, here's the dream of a better life. Let's really dig into the problem, and then maybe even have a case study here, like, you know, Annette is a hardworking architect in Toronto, and then just tell her story. Here's the dream of a better life. Here's how I help you. And then just if every split test I've ever done, if you want to get more conversions, you add more buttons, you add more forms. It's as simple as that. And then at the bottom, again, this is something you can test, but this is something Jason Fried talks about too. If you're a one-person shop, just be a one-person shop. You know, at the bottom of Tiny Marketing Wins, I have well, a bunch of and see, I have a pop-up once you get to 70% down the page. So once you've scrolled 70%, then it pops up. But here's all these people that have read. Here's all these people that have left reviews. And then I tell people about me. Like, I'm a former product manager at Sprintly. I wrote this book. It's been purchased over 2,500 times. I've written for these publications. Here's my face. You know, you got to create some sort of connection where people go, okay, maybe I can trust this person. And by the way, one of the criticisms of this picture is that the mustache makes people trust me less. So, and maybe I need to change that. Maybe I'll split test that and see if it's true. But those are a few other things I would probably change here. I
agree. I totally agree. And that that has been proven with tons of research in not just design, but advertising and all kinds of different industries, that a human face is like the thing that other humans like to look at the most. And so adding something like that gives your site a totally more interesting and appealing feel psychologically for humans. So that's
totally. And I think freelancers miss out on this. Like, so if you're a solo freelancer, what's your main advantage over Deloitte or I'm trying to think of big like companies that might offer the same services as you? Well, Deloitte is like this big, anonymous, boring corporate entity. But if you go to Mackenzie Child's website, Mackenzie Child, where is he? So if you go to this website, is this it? Oh no, this isn't right. Hold on. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Yeah, MackenzieChild.me. If you go to MackenzieChild.me, oh, I should bring this up on the screen so we can actually have a reference of it on the video. Hold on, sorry guys. Computer. So you go here, personality, man. Hi, my name is Mackenzie Child. And now he's working full-time for Coach, but he used to be a freelancer, right? So much personality here. And what, you know, here's his face. Like, do I want to hire this guy who like has YouTube videos where I can watch him walk through a design project? Or am I going to hire Deloitte? Let's look at Deloitte's website. This is going to be exciting. Here's Deloitte, you know? It's like, am I going to hire these people or am I going to hire this guy? And some people want to hire this guy. This is your biggest competitive advantage. And the reason people want to work with Mackenzie is because of all of this personality-based stuff he's doing. So I really like this. Like if I was doing freelancing still, this is what I would be kind of putting this forward. This is the kind of site I would be using.
Awesome. I think that's some really good takeaways and some nice examples, and a good way to wrap it up, I think, for the teardown.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Justin. Do you still want to jump into a couple questions?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Cool. The first one I actually picked out. It was from it's actually not even really a question. It was an email I got that was like somebody was being a little negative, I think, but it's interesting, so I want to read it.
Okay.
It says, Rob, both you and Justin live in a world I just don't understand. I'm not at all doubting that either he or you made exactly what you said you did. I can't relate to your income or business model. My biggest struggle is that I've never touched the world you describe as a solopreneur. I don't have clients willing to pay what your clients do. I don't have tens of thousands of Twitter followers. I actually have like 50 followers, email subscribers, site visitors, etc. And I certainly don't make a fraction what you guys make in the time you make it. Most designers I know don't either. So whatever you guys are doing, enjoy it. You're in an elite club. And I don't know, something about this I wanted to present to you because I've heard you talk on this call, and it really isn't like this. And like you and me, we released our revenue numbers, and when I looked at both of our revenue numbers, I was like, I kind of thought Justin was making more, first of all, and I kind of expected, same with me, like I kind of expected myself to have made more over the course of a year. And I think like it's I don't know how to put this, but like for somebody from the outside, it's completely different from what it is if you're the person that is like looked at this way. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, do you have anything you want to?
Sure. I mean, I think so. In a sense, I think one thing I struggle with is very similar, and I think actually you, Rob, are even more positive about this than I am. But you know, part of me says they're probably right. There is probably not everybody can do this.
Right.
If everybody is the best freelancer in the world, then to become the best freelancer in the world, you've got to be better than everybody, right? So every time the standard increases and every time there's more competition, yeah, you got to be better. And this is what we saw when everybody started getting bachelor degrees. When my parents were kids, nobody had a bachelor degree. When I graduated, everybody had a bachelor degree. Supply and demand, what happens? Bachelor degrees are not worth as much as they were when my parents were kids. Now, the other thing I think people don't see is, here, I'll show you this. This is my side income by year. So I was working a full-time job as a product manager. And as a product manager, I made about $100,000 a year. But back in 2012, and by the way, when I started, let me be really clear. When I started at that software company, I was making $60,000. So, I went from $60,000 and doing customer support in 2008 to just looking for opportunities. By the way, if I had, maybe I just got lucky, could be. Maybe I have a lot of built-in privilege, definitely. But the one thing I think I did do right is every day I went to work and I didn't think my job was about answering email or checking off support tickets. I thought my whole job was solving the boss's problems. And so I just kept watching him. I would look at him in his desk and I would see him he had these things where he would always do this when he was stressed out. And I would just come over to him with a cup of coffee. I'd be like, I just got coffee in my eye. I'd come over to him with some coffee and I'd be like, so what's going on? And he'd be like, oh my God, these HTML email templates are driving me crazy. And I'd say, I think I could do that for you. You want me to take that off your plate? And he'd be like, really? I'm like, yeah, I could do that. He's like, they're kind of complicated. Uses this old scripting language called Velocity. And I'm like, yeah, I'll learn it. No worries. And so every day I just went and tried to solve his problems. And that's one way I was able to get promoted. So it's iterative. 2012, I made $10,000 in side income. And if we went back to 2011, it was 5. If we went back to 2010, it was 2,500. This started at 0. And every year I just kept increasing what I was doing until 2015 when I made 66,000 on the side. And I thought, you know what? 2016, maybe I could go solo. And then as a solopreneur, I made 146,000 the first year. So there's some steps to this. And this year I'm hoping, who knows, but I'm hoping I can hit 200,000. And that'll allow me to, and by the way, 200,000, depending on how much of that ends up being profit, that'll allow me to pay my mortgage, pay off my minivan, pay for braces with my kids. Are you still there, by the way? Are we frozen? Is it frozen? Can you guys still hear me? Don't see Rob. Hello, hello. Oh, okay, some people could hear me. Okay, weird. Rob's just gone. It's just me. It's me all alone. Hopefully Rob can join again. So where was I? I was talking about, oh yeah, $200,000. I'm hoping out of that, I can at least pay myself a $10,000 salary a month. right? So I'll make $120,000 salary, hopefully more. I mean, it would be great if I made 180,000, but for somebody with 4 kids and a bunch of bills and stuff like that, that's like, you know, doing okay, but it's not like I'm killing it or anything. If you don't have all of those expenses, then maybe you could build up a gradual side income to the point where, or your freelancer income to the point where you're making 66,000, and that's great for you. And then the next year you can make 80,000, and that would be better. And the next year you can make 100,000, and that would be great. So don't compare, well, definitely don't compare your life to my life, because there's lots about my life that's really hard. And like, yeah, there's lots about my life that's hard. And I'm sure there's lots about your life that's hard. Just focus on your own shit. Like, focus on what you need to do to pay your bills and to have a fulfilling life and to get to the point where you need to get. If there's any lesson from my life or Rob's life, it's just that where we're at right now is a reflection of where we were the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before. Okay. Any other questions while we're waiting for Rob to get back? I'm going to try to get a hold of him while I'm still in the call, but you aren't. Is there anything else I want to share from that piece? Because that's a good question. I think about that all the time. I actually wrote a blog post called, if you Google "focus on your own shit," there's a blog post there that I wrote on justinjackson.ca that's all about this. Just like ignoring what your competitors are doing or what other people are doing, and just like focusing on your own stuff, which usually means focusing on your clients and what they need. How do you approach Arch Smarter with those recommendations? So I think what I would do is, as I'm listening to the client, I would be taking notes, and I would say, man, during this call, when you said you were working, 100 hours a week and pulling out your hair and you had a nervous breakdown, that emotion is why you're excited about this. And that's what's going to also make other people excited about it. So if you haven't read it already, I would read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I know it's a cheesy marketing book, but he talks about basically always presenting things from the other person's perspective. So when you're presenting something like those recommendations I gave to Arch Smarter, which could make the client really defensive, what you do instead is you use you language. Like, you said this in our call, that was really awesome and powerful. What if we use that on your website too? Because I think that would draw more people in, right? Which is a lot different than saying, man, your copy here really sucks. So that's part of how I would bring that into the conversation with Arch Smarter, David. I would also say things like that same framework I use, which is, they're here. Where do they want to